Hey everybody. So I'm Joe. I'm going to be talking a little bit about my journey from where I started, I guess, all the way through to the launch of Tasty Mates, which is my company. It's a gourmet gummy sweet company. I think the team at HelpBnk have just put the link in the chat, so if anyone wants to check it out, feel free. But I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a bit. Firstly, it's really great to meet all of you, and I know I can't see anyone and I'm kind of just talking to myself, which is really weird. But I'm hopefully take any questions and have this as a really nice interactive session. So I'm going to start from the beginning. I was sort of very middle of the road in school. I would say I was in the sort of bottom or lower, closer to the bottom sets. Was in sports teams, but wasn't necessarily the best at sport. I often found myself in the football team, but on the bench, as an example. But I loved school. I had an amazing social experience there. And I sort of worked my way through school, got by, and it got towards the end of school where you're choosing what you're doing next, your degrees, your jobs, apprenticeships, that sort of stuff. And I was set on going to university. I was very keen to go to Nottingham University. And all my mates were going there. Like that was where I wanted to go. But I knew I wasn't going to get the grades in order to get through to do straight geography, which is the course I ended up doing. So I decided to look around the course a little bit, and I ended up finding a course called Geography and Archaeology. Bear in mind, prior to this, I'd never done any archaeology, didn't know much about it, but I realised the grades were a lot lower. And because I was so set on going to Nottingham, I was like, great, this is the course I'm going to choose. And then once I get to university, I'll find the right people and I'll sort of work my way around the course and end up doing straight geography. So to put that in perspective, I think geography was something like 3A's to get into, and whereas geography and archaeology I think was 3B's. Much more achievable, still a lot of hard work for me. And I ended up managing to get in to Nottingham University. I had an incredible time there. But for me, I mean, I should say I ended up doing geography and archaeology the whole way through university. Had an amazing time doing that. Really random. I love the archaeology side of things, probably more than the geography side. But as you can probably tell, and I'm sure there's questions, how has that helped me in my career? The answer is probably not so much, maybe the odd bits here and there. But what I would say, university for me was 25% about the degree, which is great, and working hard and getting the as good a grade as possibly could when I graduated. But for me, I would say 75% of my 3 years at university was growing up, was making friends, was working out what I wanted to do next, and really like forming a path. And whilst I was at uni, I was always involved in societies and involved in like hall things and events and whatever else. And I think it was second year, me and three mates decided to set up a student night. So we went to, and this was the first real, I guess, business I had, first proper business that wasn't, selling chocolates at school or whatever. But we went around the town and we found a bar that wasn't particularly busy on a Tuesday night. And we ended up using that bar, speaking to them and organizing a deal where we would bring 300 to 500 people every week, students every single week. We would sell tickets, we would organize the DJ and all that sort of stuff. And they would take the takings from the bar, and we basically made it a busy Tuesday night in this bar that otherwise wasn't necessarily doing so well. That was an incredible experience. We had a whole team of managers, and then under the managers, we had reps in every single hall, and they got paid by selling tickets, and they took commission in the same sort of standard the sort of standard way you do, I guess, on university club nights. And that was really, really an incredible experience. I ended up leaving university at the end of third year and took a job at a youth organization where it was sort of like an elected position. And I worked there for 2 years, organizing programs, campaigns, engaging the youth in various different topics, leadership, that sort of stuff. And whilst I was there, I was always writing business plans. So for me, it was always about like, I'd have an idea, and I'm sure, by the way, everyone on this chat has had an idea at some point. But those ideas I would actually write down, and I would spend 10 p.m. at night till 4 in the morning writing these 10-page business plans, which I guess a lot of them I would look back on in the morning or the next week and be like, oh my God, what a waste of time. But I remember there was one in recruitment, and for me, like it might have been a good idea, but I wasn't the person that was ever going to make that work because I didn't have a passion for it. There was one in a parking app type idea, but I didn't care much about cars, so they sort of didn't fit. And then I had the idea for Tasty Mates, which is a gourmet gummy sweet, a range of gourmet gummy sweets. But the idea is the brand. So each of our flavors portray a mate, a personality trait. And it all started because one of my mates was winding me up, and I dubbed her the sour one or the salty one in the group. And we sort of just evolved the whole friendship group of sweets with personality traits. And that's now evolved into a much more important message, which is, for us, everything we do at Tasty Mates is all behind promoting meaningful moments with mates. So all through our social media, through our brand and brand messaging, we really aim to promote that message and remind people to check in on their mates through the general pressures of just normal life, exam stress, relationship pressures, that sort of stuff. And we were writing that, me and my business partner, we're building that brand and the idea and sort of working out the stages. And then before we launched, I finished my job with the youth group and got a job in PR. Which for me, I think in the back of my mind, I always knew was a stopgap. Like I was really passionate about Tasty Mates. We were working on it. I used to leave the office at 5:30 straight to my business partner's flat, and we would be there until 10 o'clock at night working on it every day on the weekend for probably 6-7 months while I was working in PR. And then I left PR in the January of 2020. Ready to launch Tasty Mates probably within 5 or 6 months. And as I'm sure everyone here remembers, March came around and COVID hit, and it slowed us down. We had to take a step back. We like the conversations we were having with investors, the conversations we were having with retailers just sort of started to go cold. No one knew what was going on. It was obviously a very uncertain time for everybody, and especially starting a business. No one wanted to invest, and we weren't really sure what to do. So we used I mean, I'm sure a lot of you remember in the UK, there was a point where we were allowed an hour-long walk of exercise. So I think it was initially you were allowed it only on your own, but once it was allowed, where it opened up a little bit, me and my business partner would meet for our hour-long exercise walks and walk around the block 10 times, just discussing the business. And we really spent this next 8 months or so honing in on what actually Tasty Mates was. Okay, yeah, great, we're a sweet, but why are we different? What is it we want to do, and what is it we want to achieve? More than just being a nice tasting product. We ended up finalizing our first round of funding in around November of that year, 2020. And we launched in February 2021. So that's a little bit about the journey and the trajectory to get to this point, or to get to launch at least. Now, obviously, it's a roller coaster. Starting any business is obviously a roller coaster, and every day you are having the best day ever and having the worst day ever. And that's still the case now. The tiniest things can just change your mood and change how your outlook of whether it was a good day or a bad day. But we sort of had to go in the process. So I just wanted to touch in this talk because I know a lot of people might be interested in, great, you had an idea, how did you get that product to market? How did you get it to launch? So I think the first thing to say is we broke down the goal into many different stages and many different steps. So yes, our goal is to be a leader in the confectionery world, and my business partner would probably kick me for saying this, but I would love to have a sort of Tasty Mates world in the middle of Leicester Square or Times Square one day, in the same way M&M world is for chocolate. I see ourselves as that for sweets. But that's a pipe dream. And if I started with that and we're going to go to that, it probably would have failed already. So we broke down how we got to that, how we're going to get to that point, into multiple stages. And the first thing we had to do was come up with a product. So we worked with amazing developers. We went in with a whole A4 sheet of bullet points saying we want them to be vegan, we want them to be natural colors, natural flavors, this, that, whatever, gluten-free, all of these like buzzwords. And they sat with us and they said, okay, but why do you want this? So we sat with them for a while, and we really honed in on what we wanted to achieve and what we wanted the product to taste like, what flavors we wanted to use, but also what properties we wanted. They then set about with us developing this product. And after about 9 months of developing, we got a product we were really happy with. We then were looking for outsourcing partners. How did we manufacture this on scale? And again, it gets to that question of, okay, what is it we're trying to achieve? Yes, we want to have domination in the market and produce thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of units of sweets. But if we produce 100,000 units of sweets on day one and it doesn't go well, we've just wasted a lot of money on product that we can't sell. So we need to take it in step by step. So we initially set up a mini kitchen, commercial kitchen, which we were producing sweets and we were churning them out. Honestly, there was one period where it was between Christmas Eve 2020 and Feb the 1st or something, 2021, when we launched, where we had an order to fulfill of like 20,000 units. And we just got into the kitchen. We were delayed another month or whatever it was because of various things. And I was doing the 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. shift, and my business partner Nick was doing the 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. shifts. And we would have our friends come in and help us and make these sweets, package these sweets, box them and prepare to send them off at the beginning of Feb. It was very intense. I wouldn't wish that period on anybody. There was a lot of tears, a lot of delirious laughs. But ultimately, we're now in a point where we can make the product inside out. We know our product, we know what we can do. And we learned a hell of a lot. And that stage was so integral in the growth of the business, because even now, when I'm visiting the factory or there's something going on, we know what the properties of the recipe are, and we also know what our capacity is and how we can work on our margins and things like that compared to what it once was. So we ended up launching February 2021. Our first stockist was WH Smith travel stores, and that came down a lot to networking, which we can touch on in a bit. But that then sort of set us on our way. Since then, the growth of the company has been incredible. We have grown our following on social, but we more importantly have grown our listings, our brand recognition, and there's still a long way to go. We're currently working with the likes of Ocado, Holland & Barrett, Dalesford Organic, Virgin Atlantic, WeWorks, all these different amazing names. But we've got a whole lot more to do. We've outsourced manufacturing. We now work with incredible partners who use our recipe and produce our product for us, which takes one area of problems out. I don't have to be in a kitchen all day every day, and I can focus on selling or marketing or whatever that might be. But it produces a whole load of other problems as well, supply chain issues, cash flow issues, that sort of stuff. So that's sort of the overall premise. I mean, as we're going, feel free to put questions in the chat and I'll try and answer as many as I can. But I did want to touch on sort of the co-founder side of things. So I know a lot of people are not always, you have an idea and it's your idea. You don't want to bring someone else in. And I think ultimately the having a co-founder has been the best thing that's ever happened to this business. There's a lot of things I would say that I could have done on my own, or at least paid someone to do, but it's more than the actual day-to-day runnings. Having a co-founder is such an integral part for morale, for brainstorming, for feeling like you're in it with someone else. There are times where you feel like you're treading water. There are times where you feel like you're just trying to keep your head above water, and having someone else there to act as a life jacket it's more valuable than the percent you give them on day one. I think the one thing I would say in finding a partner is have someone with different skills to you, or skills that you feel aren't necessarily your forte, but also have the same goal, and be very open that this is our goal, this is where we want to reach and what we want to achieve, and we might disagree as we get to that goal. We really might, but as long as you're okay having those hard conversations, disagreements, arguments, then your goals are aligned and similar, you'll get there. And as long as you're open and frank about it, you'll get there, and you'll realize you're actually doing it for the best and the good of the company. Which is actually, it can pave your path between making wrong decisions and right decisions, because it makes you actually think about the decisions you make. So there's a couple of questions here. So Reese is asking, when did we start writing the business plan? So Reese, you're in the process of writing a business plan and structure for a charity. I would say, like, a business plan starts as soon as the idea comes, and it doesn't matter if it's a formal business plan or like a paragraph saying this is the idea and this is the revenue stream and whatever, but it never stops. We've updated our business plan. I mean, I think we updated our business plan about 3 or 4 weeks ago. You've got to be able to diversify what you're doing, pivot sometimes, write your ideas down, because that then helps you understand where you're going with the business and what you want to achieve. Business plan, yeah, there are structures to it. You might want to have the goals. You want to have revenue streams. You want to have costs. You'll want to have team structure as part of it. If you need to raise investment, like a whole bit on investment, competitor analysis. There's loads of areas, and there is definitely a structure, and I'm sure online you'll be able to find the structure. But it's kind of think about your business and what you're trying to achieve, and make sure you're just thinking of every point, every sub point, and you're writing as much information as you can down. And don't worry about it looking clean and spelling and grammar and all that. You'll sort that out when you need to send it out to someone. But at first, just get your business idea down. And I've got a question from Ada. So you're asking if I've been business orientated always, or if I've learned along the way. I honestly think I don't think as growing up I was business orientated. Like, going back, I never thought, oh, I want to start a business. I did business A levels at school. I didn't do so well in them. I know that's theory side more than practical, but I actually think there are anyone can be business orientated. Anyone can start a business. I think there are I've sort of identified 5 things needed to start a business, and they are: you've got to be passionate about what your business is. It's the people you surround yourself with, the people you meet along the way, the people you have in your team, but not just through like formal networking, also through like people you meet at school and how they might help you with. An example, Talia from the HelpBnk team, we were at school together, and that's one of the conversations why I'm here, but also why we're about to launch an amazing, really exciting product with the HelpBnk team, Busy's team, on which I won't say too much about, but we'll be launching in around September. Your product is obviously important, your service, whatever that might be. I think if you're a problem solver, that's a massive, massive key to having a business and being an entrepreneur. You're solving problems daily, minute, hourly, always problems to solve. And also be patient. Nothing's going to happen overnight. And don't compare yourself to someone who started 3 years ahead of you, because they've had 3 years on you to learn, make those mistakes, and get to where they are. Gosh, there's loads of questions coming through. I'm going to try and cherry pick some of them. So, oh gosh, how did you find investors? We're back to Reese. Okay, let me answer this, Reese, and then I will try and take someone else's question. But I think finding investors comes back to that thing about networking. And when I say networking, yeah, those networking events are important, but it's the networks of the people you surround yourself with from the age of 11, 10, and their friends. And I come back to it. They don't have to be your best mates in school or on a camp or I don't know, your sports team, but they need to be people that you treat with respect, who then when in 5 years, 10 years time, you're like, oh, I'm doing this. They then remember you, they've seen it on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to them and see if they've got a network of people. LinkedIn's amazing. I think absolutely more so than emails. Posting, not just contacting, posting about it, connecting with people, and then posting on your page and trying to gain engagement that way. But I would say just talk about your idea. Talk about it with everyone and anyone. Our first investor, our lead investor in the first round, came because I was in a meeting about something completely different. And I just mentioned it on a whim, and they said, oh, my son's a vegan. Interesting. And a week later, I got an email saying, can you come in and have a meeting? And that was really where we started, and it snowballed from. So talk to everyone and anyone. Be boring about it. It'll be worth it. And by the way, there will be people who laugh at you if you're talking about it. I remember when we started, someone saying, I think to my mum, on a comment being like, oh, I hear he's trying to start a sweet company, or I hear he's selling sweets or something like that, in a bit of a not contradictory, in a bit of a demeaning way. But just block it out and get on with it. Okay, Maria. So you're saying you don't have a business partner, you've got a full-time job. Is it worth hiring an assistant? I point where it's probably not a nice thing to hear, but hiring someone to sort your business out isn't going to help your business launch. You're the only person who's going to be able to get it to launch. No one else is going to have that drive and determination. And if I'm honest, if you've got enough money to hire an SM manager, I would say, you know what, pay yourself that as a salary. If you need the salary to live on, pay yourself and go and leave your job and start full time. I know it's sometimes easier said than done. I know that's probably advice you don't want to hear, but the truth is, it's the only way it's gonna happen. You need to believe in it enough, because if you don't believe in it enough to leave your job, no one else is going to believe in it enough to do it. So we've got a question here. Opoku, you're saying, must you know or have met the investor beforehand? You don't necessarily have to know them. You can definitely meet them through networking, through LinkedIn, whatever. But you will at some point definitely have to meet them, or at least have a phone call with them. People buy people. They don't necessarily buy the idea. You might have an amazing idea, but if they don't believe that you will drive that idea forward, they're not investing. Similarly, you could have a very average idea, right? Like I'm saying this with like the story and all that. But ultimately, day one, we were just sweets. Why are they investing in our sweets over another brand of sweets or chocolate or water or whatever that brand might be? And I genuinely think it's someone seeing the passion that the person that has the idea has to drive that idea forward as far as they can go. Okay, I'm going to take one more question, I think. And we've got a question here. Is it Dr. Shepo? Can you share how you're planning to get your business to be a global business? So, look, ultimately, we would love to take over the confectionery market worldwide. And it's a journey. We are tapping into other markets, foreign markets. We're actually launching in Australia in the next few days. We're launching in America, Canada before I think towards the end of summer, like sort of September time. But I think it's important to remember, whilst we're doing that, the UK is still our home market, and that is the market that we absolutely want to focus on and focus a lot of our budget on at this point. There is the opportunities we have in those other markets are incredible. They are relatively cheap in terms of marketing because of their placement and product placement. But ultimately, we are we're trying to focus on the UK as much as we can in the first instance, because we know we haven't won this market yet, and that's what we need to do first. So it's just taking it step by step, and then I guess when we get to that point, it's copy and pasting the model we had in the UK, taking that to the next location, and understanding then also the market. It's important to understand that market, your competitors in that market, the consumers in that market before launching. Do a whole load of research, and then launch. But yeah, the UK is our market that we need to conquer first. So there's obviously loads and loads I could talk about product launch. I sort of gave a very brief overview of the last 2.5, well, a little bit longer, 3.5 years since the idea came about. Try to answer some questions. I hope they were helpful. I'm on LinkedIn. My name's Joe Wolf, I'll put it in the comments. But if you want to connect or ask any questions, I'm more than happy to help or try and help. But good luck to anyone starting their own business. And it was great speaking to you.